Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another powerful episode of the NYELPA podcast. We're so glad you're here. Each episode brings voices from the field to share insight, strategies, and inspiration for supporting our multilingual learners. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Carol Salva, an educator, author, and nationally recognized advocate for newcomer students and students with limited or interrupted formal education, lovingly known as SLIFE students. Carol's work focuses on asset-based, high-impact practices that help all students, especially focus on those who are new to the country. Welcome, Carol. Super excited to see you and be with you today.
You too, Jovi. It's been way too long. I was so excited that you're the one doing these.
Yeah, it has been. I was trying to think about the last time we were together, and I really think it might have been at a NABE conference. What's the last NABE conference you were at that we might have crossed paths? Was it just this last one?
Orleans.
New Orleans. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And were you at that NABE conference that we got frozen out in Portland?
Yes, Portland. I
Yes.
was there. I was there with all the ice and the snow.
I
Yes.
know. That's why. I mean, a few of us made it, and we will always be connected by that.
Trauma bonded.
Yes, yes.
All
Yeah,
right,
but
well, let's dig in. I am super excited to be here today just to talk about just newcomer support and SLIFE student support. I think that's an area where so many of our schools and districts are really desperately needing help. So I'm super excited to dig in today with you. And many of our listeners, I think, are already familiar with your dynamic approach to working with newcomers. Obviously, you're well published in the area and have done a lot of professional development across the country around this. Can you start by giving us an overview of your work and what drives your passion for supporting our newcomer and SLIFE students?
oh, thank you. Yes, thank you for asking. Well, if I had to say what drives it, I have immigrant parents, and when I was in school, I created a situation for myself that made school difficult for me. And I really got into this vicious cycle by the time I was an adolescent of just not thinking I was as smart as the other kids. And it really, in retrospect, it had so much to do with lack of effort, fake reading, missing chunks of school by choice, just bad, poor decisions. But it's this cycle where you think you're not smart, so you don't give effort, so you don't do well, so it all goes in the wrong direction. And so as an adult, I didn't become a teacher initially. I didn't become a teacher until I was in my 30s. And the way things happened, I became a bilingual teacher when I got an alternative certification. And the way things happened, I ended up in the district where I grew up, in the same neighborhood where I went to school. And I was the bilingual teacher. And so I had all the recent immigrants in elementary, and it floored me that they didn't realize how smart they were. It was really perplexing to me that they just didn't realize how smart they were. I mean, I guess it wasn't a mystery to me. I could see myself in them. And so it became this mantra that we can do more. Thankfully, the district where I grew up and where I've always taught here, Spring Branch ISD, which is close to Houston, we got a lot of professional development as bilingual and dual language specialists and teachers. Asset-based mindset was part of it, growth mindset, grit, that kind of thing. And it was just wonderful. I also knew someone that was very successful, that came from those classrooms too. And our class came across a picture of him in National Geographic. His name is Dr. Jonathan Lose, and he Skyped with our class. I mean, we just made an effort to change the mindset of these students. And at the same time, I was getting so much help with how to teach fourth grade. I was a new teacher to being a classroom teacher. And so I just accepted a lot of help from everyone. And Joby, those kids did phenomenally. We
Awesome.
had 100, the state of Texas does our exams at fourth grade. I had 100% pass the reading, 100% pass the writing, and 100% pass the math state assessments. And I still follow those kids. It's been so long. So anyway, that's a long story, but I appreciate folks like Dr. Lose and other people who help me make sure that young people know their potential is is limitless. Your potential is limitless. And so later in my career, I became a specialist. I became a specialist for our secondary dual language program. I left the classroom and started supporting dual language at secondary. And as it turned out, we got a demographic shift in one of our schools. I mean, we're in Houston, so we've always had newcomers, but on the side of our freeway that wasn't it wasn't as prevalent to have low socioeconomic newcomers in big numbers. We got a big increase in our SLIFE population. I didn't even know that acronym back then. None of
Yeah.
us were used
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, we weren't.
And but what we knew was that a refugee resettlement organization that is fabulous, they made a deal with an apartment complex where there was a sliver of poverty, and boom, like within 2 weeks, we had dozens and dozens of students who were new, not just new to the language and the culture, many were new to formal education,
Mhm.
and it wasn't Spanish. You know, we all kept trying to use our Spanish.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a humbling year because I was put back in the classroom to try to help solve for this, or try to help
Mm.
figure out how to serve these students. And we have some amazing districts around us, Katy ISD,
Yeah.
Houston ISD, so many, Bastrop, and different places, Austin, that I was allowed to go visit their newcomer
Mhm.
programs and try to figure it out. And I invited people into my classroom. We filmed it to try to get better because it wasn't getting better. And
Mhm.
Joby, it was embarrassingly, it got worse when I took over the class. Years. But it was middle school, so
Yeah.
it was new to me for
Sure.
teaching middle school at the time. And then I was going with what I knew from elementary and foundations, and they need the alphabet and they need this and they need, and I was just missing some big picture things. But when you have people watch, even if you were the instructional coach, which I was, a coach can see some things you
Yeah,
can't see because they're on the
of
sideline.
course. Mhm.
Filming it and inviting people into the classroom, the second semester went so well.
That's awesome.
That's was how I started.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but we share a sort of common entry point into our education careers. I also went back to where I graduated and started my teaching career in the same school
Oh,
where I had recently graduated and started our EL program. We didn't have an EL program at the time.
oh my goodness.
So we share sort of a passion for that grow
Oh,
your own
Toby,
before
isn't
it was a grow
that
your own
surreal? It's a
program.
surreal thing to
Yeah.
walk those
Yeah.
halls from the
Yeah.
other
Those
side
teachers
of
who
the
had you
school.
in class.
It
Yeah.
is. It is so surreal. I'll never forget how that felt.
Well, I'm
Lovely.
excited to talk to you about just you mentioned something in your introduction about asset-based mindset.
Yeah.
That's such a huge passion and foundation on which I build all of my professional work as well. So you often emphasize those strengths that students bring into the classroom. What are some ways that educators can shift their mindset and truly see and build on the assets of newcomer students? I know sometimes with newcomers and SLIFE students, it's so easy to get mired down in the gaps and trying to shift ourselves up out of that gap mentality and try to really dig into the assets and then leverage those and build on those. What are some ways that you think we can do that better?
Yes, teachers have shared so much with me. I keep seeing ways to do this in practical ways. So I want to lift up everybody because all of us want to have that. But
Mhm.
it's every time what we work with, I get the opportunity. It's really an extreme honor to work with districts all year long, going in and trying to model and show teachers these practical things. So at the beginning of the school year, if I'm in a newcomer class or a content class where there are newcomers, I'm always like humbled again when I realize how it really feels like they can't do anything. I'm like up there modeling, going, okay, maybe, maybe this isn't going to work. But you have to fight that.
Yeah.
You have to fight that because you have
Mhm.
there's I mean, I just want to lift up teachers that it really does feel like you're not making progress and like they don't understand anything, especially when they're truly new to the language that you're speaking in. And so we have to remind ourselves. That's a huge tip. So my co-author is Anna Mattis, she's the co-author to the book we wrote, Boosting Achievement reaching students with limited or interrupted formal education. And the second edition just came out, and it has so many teacher examples in it of people who have used this work over the years. So what we recommend is to challenge what you believe. It is the top tip. Challenge what you believe, because you believe, I think we all believe, that people can understand more than they might say they can understand. As a student, if I use visuals and gestures, we know that a lot of communication is gestures. It's not even verbal, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we do these little simulations. So we believe that. We believe that kids can understand more when we use simple things like visuals and gestures and repetition and facing them and letting them talk to each other to negotiate meaning every once in a while. You don't have to take things down. You can keep things high in terms of what you expect and use some real practical things. So you just have to self-talk and remind yourself that they can do more. That was my mantra in my mind. They can do more. I'm going through the Starbucks line. I'm getting my Starbucks and I'm saying they can do more. They can do more. Because your tendency is to go, oh my God, and focus on a few kids looking at you like a deer in the headlights. Well, those couple of kids may not really understand much. But again, what we would recommend is if you're doing a mini lesson to a group of students, you're teaching to the top in that mini lesson. There are kids in there who understand more and with visuals and gestures and slowing down would understand more. So again, we're going to repeat things. We're going to tap everything we teach, and we're going to let kids talk to each other, even if they don't
Mhm.
speak the same language.
Yeah.
What we want to remind ourselves is that every single day they understand more.
Mhm.
Every single day that you would be walking around at one of our schools, you would be getting a little more social language.
Mhm.
And so the teachers I work with will absolutely, if they start school in August, they'll tell me in September, well, it's still really hard. They still don't understand a lot. And if I ask them, okay, so let's rewind a few weeks. Do they understand some real basic things like, let's go, it's time to go, hello? Well, yeah, they understand. Okay, well, that is progress. And you don't just have them for a couple of weeks. You don't just have them for a month or 2 months or 5 months or 7. You have them for 10 months. This
Mhm.
is almost 200 days, even if you just meet once or twice a week. We have to remind ourselves that language acquisition is happening. And if we marry that comprehension that is happening at a basic level every day with low stress opportunities to practice output, the two end up going faster.
Mhm.
They just end up going faster. So,
Yeah, we were just kind of focusing in on the mindset, sort of shifting that
oh,
mindset with the asset space. And then I was heading there next. So one thing that you had mentioned that really just made me think about years and years ago when I was teaching, but also just recently as I've had a chance to host podcasts and talk to students, because I think we do spend so much time talking to teachers and really trying to understand, what's working, what's not. But also another population of stakeholders that help us guide our practice is students. They tell us a lot about what's working for them. I just
absolutely.
think we don't ask enough. I think that when we're teaching, we spend so much time trying to think about and guess and look at the data, which is so important. But sometimes we're missing the most important piece of data is the students' direct feedback. Just ask them what's working, ask them what's not working, use translation. They will tell you, like they know so much, even the youngest students, even third grade students. I had an opportunity to talk to some third grade students recently. They were spot on with what was working for them and not working for them. So we need to spend more time asking our students,
This
honestly.
is the thing, I love that you say that because the mindset is what I had started talking about.
Yeah.
Remind yourself they can do more and marry that with some practical strategies
Yeah.
to trust. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times, if I was going to learn German or Swahili or something, I'd probably be taking in more
Yes.
than I'm
Yes.
speaking. So
Yeah.
I might comprehend more than I can produce. So we have to remind ourselves that they can understand more, and then the things we do, like it's a long game we're playing, and
Yes.
that you think that it's not working, but if you stop and reflect, you'll see they are making progress.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
making progress. And then I love what you just said, which is the students themselves
Mm-hmm.
can partner with them.
Yeah.
We can partner with them. So the definition of SLIFE, when the words, the students with limited or interrupted formal education, most of the time I'm being asked to help with a student third grade or above when it's real, when people are really starting to freak out. And
Yeah.
the reason that we're freaking out, understandably, is this student may have significant gaps. So the
Yeah.
foundations of literacy, the very foundations, they're not in a grade level that's teaching that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Right.
passed that learn to read
Mm-hmm.
K1, and they're in a grade level where we're all supposed to be reading to learn now. We
Yep.
know the foundations, we know how to kind of decode text, and now it's about comprehension and this and that. I mean, I understand that. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that. But if that's what Joby, this is why it wasn't going well when I first took over the kids. That was my mindset, is we're in middle school. We are supposed to be doing author's purpose, and these
Yeah.
kids can't
Mm-hmm.
foundational, even if
Right.
you translate it,
Right.
they
Yeah.
need the alphabet. So I was hitting
Yeah.
the alphabet. What I was failing to recognize that is way more powerful mindset is that however old the child is, the older the child, the more capacity they have to partner with us.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can partner with a third, fifth, 10th grader much differently than a 4 or 5-year-old. So
Mhm.
we don't need to use the same tactics. They need to learn the same thing. They need to learn foundations they need phonics, they need high
Right.
frequency words, they need vocabulary, but they can partner with us differently,
Yeah.
partner with us very differently. So that asset mindset, I mean, I'll
Mhm.
just give you an example, that author's purpose example. So I was saying we can't do that. We're trying to work on, the alphabet and the phonics, and we're just now getting up to I see a boy, wondering why these kids were so off task and bored and off behavior was an issue and everything. Well, my student teacher, her name is Catherine Deersky, and I still say she was the best co-teacher I have ever had. She would come for part of the day, and she had seen things in other classes because she was actually all over the building. And she showed me just very basic Lion King in a cover of a book, and then a lion in a National Geographic cover. And so asking the kids, which one do you think the author wrote to entertain? Which one do you think the author wrote to inform and teach us things? Every single kid could tell you the author's purpose of those two books. And it was, again, humbling,
Yeah.
humbling
Yeah.
to have somebody who wasn't even with her teaching certification just yet show me and teach me something that I needed to think about. The mindset was off. But
Mm-hmm.
focusing on what they could not do. And
Yeah.
young, fresh eyes, we all need student teachers and first year teachers on our teams
Oh,
because
yeah.
fresh eyes would come in and show me how I could raise the bar. And then if we used those, if we used the National Geographic, I could teach phonics and so much better
Yeah.
because they were more interested
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
type of a text. It wasn't demeaning and degrading. I
Yeah.
mean, 10,
Yeah.
11-year-old kids. So,
Yeah.
no, yes, we did work on phonics and phonetics and all of those things, but it all went so much faster when we included them at grade level for content, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we
You
can,
reminded me of another mindset shift, and that is growth mindset. I think sometimes when we're in our own classrooms and we're teaching, sometimes it feels critical if someone comes in and offers up feedback and you start to think, oh, that's evaluative. The best teachers I've ever worked with are ones who started somewhere that wasn't working, but were so willing and open to, like your point, asking for help, taking feedback, saying, could you cover my classroom so I could go watch an exemplar of where you think this is going well? Those are the teachers who, at the end of the day, were the highest performing teachers, more so
yeah,
than teachers who were veteran teachers who had 25 years of experience. That open mindset, really, I can't say and I can't express enough how much I've seen those teachers with that growth mindset just knock it out of the ballpark in terms of performance. You don't have to
I,
be perfect right out the gate. Just be open to trying different things.
and we have to remind ourselves of that, Jody,
Yeah, of
because
course.
I
It's
I
easy to be in
knew
that
in
rut
my
after 20 years.
Oh my God, in my mid-30s, becoming a teacher, I felt so out of sorts because for one, really for 2 years, I was a special education teacher. That was lower stress to me. I was going in and pulling kids one-on-one and supporting. But then I was put in charge of a fourth grade classroom, and I felt so ill-equipped for
Mhm.
this that I had no problem going, I need help. I'm old enough. I'm old
Yeah.
enough to know that I need help. And so
Hmm.
help came spilling in. Our reading specialist, I told you about a guy I went to school with, our community, so many people helped, and we had so much success back then. So why didn't I think that way when I first took over this middle school class? I had teaching credentials. I was a specialist. There was going to be this, I don't know, it was going to be revealed. It's that imposter syndrome. And the minute, I mean, that didn't go on for very long because these are real people that I was like, you're going to just need to get over yourself and you're going to need to ask for help. And
Mhm.
and you're just so right. Brene Brown's work about
Yeah.
vulnerability,
Yeah.
all of that comes into play. And it is so true. I became such a better teacher for just being willing to have people show me things and try them and put my own spin on them. The
Mhm.
kids themselves, I know a lot of teachers say this, but those life students from that first year were the best teachers that I have had.
Yeah.
We would have conversations. We had to use a lot of Google Translate at first. It was a bunch of different languages, but I told them I want to learn how to best support you. So we kind of come back to what you said.
Yeah.
You can
That's
partner
awesome.
with the kids and ask them what's working.
So speaking of what's working, I do want to make sure that before we wrap up our conversation, you can share one or two high leverage strategies that teachers can start using right away to
Yes.
better support students who are either new to the English language or new to US schools, or maybe both.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, here's my top tip. If I were to go just do one thing with a group, and I have, just like short amount of time, what you could do right now, first of all, please make sure the student has the relevance for why we're going to ask them to do something. If it's not relevant to them, oh, this will make you a better reader. This will help you learn English. They're not they're not
Mhm.
going to be as motivated. It's just not going to land. And they're not going to do it when they're not with you. It's not the 20 minutes you have with them. It's what, like we said, partner with them to know everywhere you go, you can become more fluent in the language. And the fluency is the key to everything.
Mhm.
Fluent you are in English, the more you are going to be able to take advantage of everything that we teach in any capacity. So we want to start with fluency. And so what I want them to do is reread familiar text. I don't want them to get bogged down in comprehension. We'll help you with the comprehension when it's a grade level content type of thing. We can translate that for you, but I don't even recommend translation after a few months. We can give you less of it. We can chunk and talk and chunk and talk and things like that. But if we're talking about helping a student become more fluent and more literate and be able to independently decode text as soon as possible, if I'm the person pulling this student or working with small groups or a newcomer class, I want them to reread familiar text because that's how you become more fluent. Comprehension is very important, but when are we working with older students on how to become more fluent and independently read a text? Every single grade level, they're going to work on comprehension. Every single grade level, the teacher's going to have some kids who are off level and struggling readers. But we need our students, our multilingual learners, our SLIFE, our newcomers, all the different levels to be reading with more fluency. And Stephen Krashen says reading is the key to language acquisition. So we don't even need to argue the literacy piece. Read more, shared reading. So here's what you could do right now. Is there a book or a piece of text that they're very interested in? A topic they're very interested in, and I can tell you how to get one right away. But let's just say you have a book and choose grade level books, Harry Potter and things that other kids their age are reading. But you take a portion of it, page or two, tell them the bigger picture, and then use a page or two and ask the kid to track the print. I'm just going to read at a rate where you can see where one word ends and the next word begins. And so we'll do a sentence or two, chunk and talk, and chunk and talk, and chunk and talk. And so a page might take quite a while.
Mhm.
But there's so much compelling text out there. There's so many great pieces of text. So I'm not asking the kid to slog through the book. I want to get them interested in the book and then use any text. Again, the relevance that they need to have, the student needs to understand the power of this. When you track that print, 50% of this page have high frequency words. 50% of the words are going to be these little bitty words like I, you, and,
Mhm.
thee. You need to have your eyes in text as much as possible because every single day you understand more English. So if your eyes are in text and we do one page, you're going to see the word the so many times, the word and, the word, and this is a big part of you becoming familiar with English. So the one of the reasons this is powerful is the syntax is already there. You know, the order of the words, again, the high frequency words. But let me tell you what they're getting out of it, and I want them to understand what you're getting out of it. You're getting high frequency word recognition. You're getting one-to-one word matching. You're getting word margins. We may work on phonetics, or we are doing that, where you're going to see those come up. You're going to see the sounds of the letters that we've been working on out of context. You're going to see them in context. You're just going to get so much out of it for the foundations to reinforce the foundations. But again, let's put literacy aside for a second. You're becoming more fluent. We can read chunk, talk, chunk, talk, chunk, talk. Now, if you think you have a piece of, you don't have text that your students would be interested in, this is our top tip, is co-construct some text with them.
Mhm.
Ask
Yeah.
your class some questions or ask this group some questions and then scribe some sentences and until you have like a half page. It might take a couple of visits, but then you have something that they've told you and their names are in it. And it's interesting because they're the authors. You're just the scribe. It's just your English.
Mhm.
But don't just let that be a one reread, and then tell the student wherever they go, please be paying attention to English text. You'll see it on a stop sign. You'll see it on a cereal box. You'll see it in
Yeah.
math classrooms. And then just show them growth. After a few weeks, they should recognize more sounds and little words and things, and that's growth. And they need to see that to get on fire.
I love that. Thank you so
Hope
much.
that's
So,
helpful.
yeah, it's super helpful. And I was just going to ask you before we wrap up, one piece of advice for educators who are working with SLIFE and newcomers. What's like your best piece of advice? I mean, that was a great teaching tip, but what's a piece of advice?
Oh, my advice that I am taking right now is think about the long game, please. Think about
Mhm.
the long game. So for
Okay.
years now, I've been showing people how students with interrupted education can come into or limited, never have, can come in and it's not a disability. They've been learning things out there that are valuable. We can get them literate. They may have a lot of struggles at first, but they can catch up eventually. Catch
Mhm.
up and pass up. People
Yeah.
don't have their growth mindset. We need to focus on that.
Mhm.
So if that is true, and I think we have plenty of evidence now, um, right now we're in a place in history where we are so worried, and our students are worried, and our families are worried about students being deported and being taken out of our system. It's a real thing, right? Well, what I would offer you is that that may result in an interruption in education, but it is a long game. I
Mhm.
can show you people who had interruptions in education, people who were deported, who are doing very, very well right now. So I'm going to give them the advice that Dr. Francisco Jimenez just gave me on my podcast, because he was deported in middle school and he is a professor at Santa Clara University. He said, make sure kids know that there's always hope.
Mhm.
Don't give up the hope. And anything you learn, you get to take with you. And
Yeah.
anything you learn when you're not here, you get to keep. Everything. You keep all the learning. So just keep looking forward and keep moving forward and know that your potential is still limitless.
I love that. I can't even think of a better way to end this conversation than that.
I
Thank
think
you
we all
so
need
much. Yeah, for sharing your insights, your energy, and your expertise and passion with us today. Your passion for equity and inclusion shines in everything you do, Carol, and we're so grateful for your leadership in the field.
Oh man, I am so grateful for Nalva. It
Yeah.
has helped me so much. I've learned so much for being a part of it. So, and I'm grateful for you, Jovi. I've loved the shows you've done so far and all the work you do in the field. So thank you for having me and thank you for doing this.
Awesome. I just want to thank our NIALPA listeners as well. Be sure to check out our other episodes and continue learning with us at nialpa.org. Until next time, everyone, keep advocating for opportunity and success for every multilingual learner.